It's a long road we've set our feet upon. A long road we've set our feet upon. And with loving hearts we walk on. With loving hearts walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on. Bridges are built with open hands. Bridges are built with open hands. And we begin to heal the world. We begin to heal the world. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. Oh, when the sun shines through all of us, there on the road will be a rainbow in front of us. Wherever we go, wherever we go. Take a single flame and pass it on. Take a single flame and pass it on. And it's enough to light the way. It's enough to light the way. We will light the way. We will light the way. We will light the way. Oh, when the sun shines through all of us, there on the road will be a rainbow in front of us. Wherever we go, wherever we go. All the souls who came before us standing here. All the souls who came before us standing here. You can hear them whisper low. You can hear them whisper low. We will walk with you. We will walk with you. We will light the way. We will light the way. We will heal the world. We will heal the world. We will walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on. We will walk on.
Come in to our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the lifers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. It is already March. Can you believe it? This month in worship, we draw inspiration from some of the stained glass windows in the Throop Sanctuary. These windows along the north aisle hold symbolism from the parables told by Jesus. And as we explore them, we'll be asking how these stories can help us live faithful lives today. Also, the month of March is our stewardship month at Throop. And each Sunday, you'll hear stories from troopers about why this faith community is important to them. Friends, as you are able, set aside any outside distractions and continue to turn toward one another as we move across the threshold into our shared sacred space.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light 3 flames this morning. We light our home chalices in a spirit of love, hope, and peace with these words from Sobanfu Somé. Community is the spirit, the guiding light of the tribe, whereby people come together in order to fulfill a specific purpose, to help others fulfill their purpose, and to take care of one another. We light a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose lands we now occupy. The land under and around Throop once was and still is the home of the Tongva people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into seeking justice and equity for all. We light a third candle, symbolizing our hopes and bearing witness to the injustices of the world. Thank you.
Our Throop Learning Garden is a vibrant oasis in the midst of downtown Pasadena. The winding paths, fruit trees, herbs, and flowers provide habitat for wildlife and rest and inspiration for people. Our garden is based on permaculture principles. Permaculture owes the roots of its theory and practice to traditional and indigenous knowledges from all over the world. One of the permaculture principles is catch and store energy. The idea is to collect resources when they are abundant so we can use them in times of need. We see this at work in our Throop garden through our compost piles, our rain catchment system, and our solar panels. How is this principle at work in your own personal life? Each week, we offer our thanks and praise for Earth. We recognize her abundance and we dedicate ourselves to protecting her health and well-being. Please join with me in reciting our promise to our planet. As members of the family
Members of the family of living beings on
we are
earth,
guided
we
by
are
the
guided by the
Unitarian
Unitarian
Universalist
Universalist
principle of
principle
respect
of
for the
respect for the
interdependent
interdependent
web
web of all
web of all
existence of
existence
which we
of
are a
which we
part.
are a part.
hearts
with
filled with
hearts
love
filled
for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources. We promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself.
and of the planet itself.
Welcome again into your Sunday morning worship home. If you haven't already been greeting people in the chat box, now is a great time to do that. And I also encourage you, if you're able to put your view into gallery mode and just scroll through and see who is here, both faces and names on the screen, and give a little wave to those who are joining us today. And also just a reminder that we have folks who are watching us on Facebook Live, and we can't see them here or see what they're typing into the comments, but we know that you're out there. Hello. And we're glad that you're joining us in that way as well. And again, we love for you to continue to connect with one another throughout worship in the chat box. This morning, we have an original poem written by Throop member Pat Dennis. Pat had intended to be here and share it with you in person online. And can you believe that their power went out at their house 15 minutes before service started? It's like, yes, just what happens these days. I don't think that their electricity's come back on. I'm not seeing Pat in the Zoom room, but Pat gave me her blessing to share. Oh wait, Lynn says she can see Pat. I'm not seeing her. Okay, so I'm gonna share it. It's called Dawning Light by Pat Dennis. Shafts of light stream through the window, sunshine making its presence known without asking permission. Hovering, covering, filling the room with maternal warmth, melting cold edges of gloom that pierce permission to wonder. A squinted eye notices particles waltzing on beams of hope. To a silent song, an eclectic rhythm, a welcome home for those who survive the captivity of night. Never dreaming escape to a new dawn would come so suddenly.
Be lights unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp.
This month of March, we're inviting you, just as you're able, to consider your financial contribution to Throop. We know that you have all been so generous in this past year when there's been so much uncertainty. And for those of you who are able, we're inviting you to look at what you've been given and to what you've been giving, and to reconsider if you're able to increase your donation this year, if you need to keep it the same, or if because of your circumstances, if you need to decrease it. This month, we're inviting a few people to share in Throop worship why Throop has been an important spiritual and religious home to them. And today, Harlow Robinson shares why it's been important to him and his husband, Robert. Thank you, Harlow.
Thank you, Tara. Welcome, everybody. When I was growing up, my father was very involved in the pledge drive at our local congregational church in Connecticut. He took this job very seriously. On a Sunday in the spring, he and other volunteers would make house calls on members of the congregation. They would sit down in their living rooms and ask how much they were going to give to the church that year. That always felt a bit awkward to me. How would you know if you would be welcome? But this is how it was done. The volunteers believed that this personal ask was important and powerful. Even if we wanted to in this age of COVID, we couldn't be coming to make house calls on behalf of Throop. So don't worry, you don't have to clean up your living room. These days, fundraising appeals happen over the phone, internet, television, and through direct mailing. Like many of you, I am sure, my husband Robert and I receive countless emails and phone calls asking for financial support for lots of different causes, and lots of fundraising letters, many of which unfortunately end up in the recycle bin. Political organizations, performing arts groups, alumni associations, animal rights advocacy groups, food banks, health networks, public broadcasting, a long and growing list. All worthwhile and all more in need of financial help than ever in the era of COVID, when so many traditional sources of philanthropic support have experienced unprecedented demand and in many cases reduced income. And lots of people have less money to give right now. We all have to make choices about what causes are important to us and how much we can give to each. They're very personal choices that depend on our own histories and experiences and preferences and convictions. For Robert and me, supporting our UU community has always been the highest priority. Before joining this wonderful community at Throop, we gave to our UU church in Boston. Why has this been so important to us? Because we believe that in supporting Throop, we also support a wide variety of causes. UU ideals, social justice, spiritual growth, musical life, maintenance of a beautiful historic structure, community engagement. And by giving to Throop, we grow closer to the community of like-minded folk who also support the church. Generosity gives as much or more to the giver as to the recipient. In her sermon today, Reverend Tera will speak about the parable of the talents. This story goes to the heart of the idea of investment and return. Before he leaves on a journey, a rich man gives his 3 servants a sum of money. Talents were a form of currency in those days. 2 of them invest the funds and double their amount, but the third, cautious one, buries the money instead. When the rich man returns, he rewards the 2 who had invested and castigates the one who did not. It is actually a harsh message as written in the Gospel of Matthew, and this is the King James Version with that wonderful flowery language. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The message is confusing, but seems to urge us to increase the gifts we are given rather than merely guard them in fear. When we give to Throop, we make an investment, increasing our gifts, spreading them further, planting seeds that have grown to trees that will bear fruit for more people and more good projects. So I ask you, please, Robert and I, we ask you to please give generously to the Throop Generosity Campaign this spring. Your gift of whatever size will bring hope and sustenance to many. So don't bury your talents, invest them in Throop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harlow. I appreciate that. So as we think and ponder on Harlow's message, I invite us to continue to turn toward one another in this space. I always think it's such a strange and wonderful Zoom circle of rectangles that we create every Sunday. Some of us enter the service on Sunday, I know, feeling pretty tired. Many of us have been asked to hold more than really we thought we'd be able to almost a year ago, and yet here we are. We've been doing the best we can with what we have for almost a year. Be present with your breath in these moments. Really kind of slow down. Bring focus to yourself. And imagine a warmth begin to arise within the core of your body. If it helps in these moments, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. This warm light is deep within you, and it's a flame that is always ready for you when you need it. Imagine this warm glow that begins to emerge from the recesses of your inner being. Imagine it gently moving through in waves through your body, to your feet, out through your hands, the top of your head. Let this warmth spark your imagination, your inspiration. And remember that this inner light that you carry within you, it shines on you and it shines on others, even through our Zoom screen. You are gifted with the agency to affect healing in the world. We may be separated from others in this moment, but you aren't alone, and we're not alone. Together, our energies and our light can magnify hope and possibility. I invite you to just take a simple breath in, letting this knowledge fill you. Breathe out a sense of reassurance and connection. Let us be held in the steady mercy of the world. As we hold each other in our circle of care and compassion, we also make space in our service to bring in names of those who are near and dear to us, those who are in need of our healing energy and prayers. If there's someone in your life who could use extra prayer, extra care, please put their name in our chat box. In our circle of care, we bring in the names of Olivia and Leslie, Pat, Quinn, and Kathy, Diane's dear friend Mary is going into hospice. Rachel Wasserman, Susan's son Nick and granddaughters Sid and Stella, Ian's grandfather Richard, Garrison's friend Garrison, who is enduring hard times. And Steve brings in those who are suffering but aren't aware of it in these moments. For all of these names that we have lifted into our circle, you can imagine us kind of expanding our circle of care and concern. We send our collective prayers and energy. And I invite you to make a gesture now of extending your cupped hands to someone in our Zoom service. They won't know that you're pointing at them, but you're offering them your peace and love. And you, my friends, are receiving it right now from some unknown source. And then place your hands over your heart as a sign that you send your heartfelt peace and love out into our world. And for all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Amen.
Lady of the seasons, laughter in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here among us till the far light of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love our life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth.
When you enter our Throop sanctuary, and I realize not everyone here in our Zoom space has been able to do that, but for those who have been able to go in, one of the defining features is our stained glass windows. One person called them songs of light. Earlier, we heard in Pat Dennis's poem, shafts of light stream through the window, sunshine making its presence known without asking permission. Her words reminded me of our windows. The images in these windows come directly from our Christian Universalist heritage, depicting the life and ministry of Jesus. This month throughout worship, we'll draw inspiration from the windows that are along the north aisle. Those particular windows were installed as part of the original building in 1923, almost 100 years old. And in each one of those windows, one of the parables of Jesus is symbolized. And a parable is really just a story with a twist. As you heard from Harlow earlier, today we're going to look at the symbolism in the window that shows the parable of the talents from Matthew 25. And so just a reminder, the story goes that there was a wealthy man and he decided to go on a long journey. And before he left, he gathered 3 of his servants to him and he entrusted to them some of his property. To one, he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to their ability. And then he left on his trip. So in this context, a talent does not mean something that we might do unusually well. It was a measure of money. And back then, 1 talent represented a huge sum. So these servants were given tens of thousands of dollars to hold on to. So Jesus goes on to tell us what they did with this money. The one who received 5 went into town and traded with them and doubled his amount, coming away with 5 more. The one with 2 did the same, doubled the amount and came away with 4. But the servant who received just the 1 did something different. He stayed behind, dug a hole in the ground, and hid the money there. After many years, the wealthy man returned and he gathered these 3 around and he said, "What did you do with the money I left you?" And the one who now had 10 came forward and proudly showed off. And the wealthy man said, "Yes, nicely done. You are faithful and trustworthy. I will put you in charge of many things. Let us rejoice." The one who now had 4 came forward and proudly showed them. And again, the wealthy man replied, "Nicely done. You are faithful and trustworthy. I will put you in charge of a few things. Let us rejoice." And then the one who buried his 1 talent came forward and he said, "I knew you to be a harsh man. I know that you reap where you did not sow. I know that you gather where you did not scatter seed. And I was afraid. And I hid this talent in the ground. Here, take what is yours." And the wealthy man replied, "You are wicked and lazy. You should have invested my money with the bankers. Then I would have received what was my own with interest. You're worthless. You will be thrown into the outer wilderness, and there will be a weeping and gnashing of teeth." Scene. That's where this parable leaves us. As you hear this story, what does it mean to you? In all the parables, it's really up to us, the listener, to decide what we make of them. And I think that's one reason that they've endured for thousands of years. We get to interpret and make meaning out of them. So while we ponder this story, I have some pictures of this particular stained glass window, and Matthew's going to bring it up on the screen so you can see what it is we're talking about. And here is the full window. And something I always think is funny, this window has the checkerboard pattern in it. And supposedly these were touches of humor by the stained glass artist, Charles Connick. Not sure if he's doing stand-up anytime soon, but we get a little bit of what a stained glass maker's humor is. And then if we go to the next slide, we'll see a little bit closer up the parable of the talents in the window. It's the one on the left. And you can see there's the wealthy man, the 3 servants, and they're each holding a bag of some coins, some money. And then we'll take another look at the full window, and the window has additional symbols in it. And I'll just lift up what a few of them are. There's an acorn in there that denotes latent greatness. There's an oak tree that I think you can see up near the top, and that indicates growth from small beginnings. Oh, Matthew's putting his cursor on it. Thank you. I see your cursor. And then let's see, all the way down at the bottom, there's an open bag of money signifying charity. And then there's some other symbols in there too that you can take a look at. One's a laurel wreath. And each window in the sanctuary, in addition to the main symbol, has a lot of these smaller symbols that lift up different meanings. Thank you, Matthew, for showing us the windows. So what do you think Jesus was saying to us in the parable? What meaning do you take from it? I'm looking at the chat box right now if you want to put your answer in there. So yeah, Garrison and I have a favorite window toward the back. Thank you, Garrison. And Terry talks about, yeah, equal to hiding it in the mattress. And yeah, Karina talks about when we were still in the building, they often sat next to that window. Yes, I remember Karina seeing you in that pew near it. And I know some of you had a favorite window that you would try to sit next to. Terry says, maybe it's good to be wicked. David asks, is the rich man wise or merely rich? Yeah, Diane, the one servant had the courage to speak the truth. Exactly. So many things that if we had more time and if this were more of a text study, we could really like start to pull a lot of different things out. Thank you. Yeah, and keep putting them in there. I may not be able to see them all now, but I'll try to look at it a little bit later. So as Harlow mentioned so beautifully, this story is often used to talk about generosity, that those with gifts or with money are obligated to share them, and that when we share our gifts, whatever they are, they multiply. And I think that is a message that we can get behind. I love it. And I know that for so many of us, when we do give back to others, we receive more than we give. But also thought it was fun to look a little deeper, look at this in a different way. You know, Jesus preached to and was on the side of the disinherited, the ones who so often did without. And at the time that he shared this particular parable, the authorities were after him. He had just overturned the money changers' tables in the temple. And it was just a few days later that he was arrested and then crucified. In this parable, we see a pretty fairly traditional hierarchical dualism. There's the dominating, wealthy, elite male on the one side, and a subjugated servant class who feared him on the other. Increased material wealth is praised and rewarded. Conservation of resources is punished. And as I started thinking about it that way, I thought, let's imagine that this story was written from the perspective of Earth. What if Earth was telling this story? What if we understood the servants not as people, but as symbolic of Earth? And what if we understood the wealthy man not as this powerful, rich person over there, but what if he's us? In the story, when the earth gives and gives and gives of her resources, we are happy and joyful and we heap praise on her. And when the earth holds onto her resources, we get angry and cast her aside. This month, the permaculture principle we're lifting up is catch and store energy. collecting resources when they are abundant so we can use them in times of need. What if that one servant, instead of being wicked and lazy, was actually being the most faithful servant of all? What if setting aside his portion of wealth showed that he's acting with spiritual depth and integrity? What if he was practicing a lesson that many of us are still learning? That the bounty of our earth is a marvel for our delight and our nourishment, not a possession to be used up. That we need to learn to live with limits, with justice, with a long view. And that the most pressing religious work of our time is creating and sustaining a new vision of an abundant life for all creation. Sometimes when I enter our Throop sanctuary, I just close my eyes and I try to imagine all the people who came before us, who caught the religious energy of universalism and who stored that energy thoughtfully and lovingly in our stained glass windows and in the wooden pews. They invested to benefit the whole for future generations. Here we are almost 100 years later from when that building was built and ready to welcome people in. And now it's our turn to make faithful decisions about how each one of us will support Throop. This church that holds a vision of an abundant, just, sustainable, and joyful world. As Harlow mentioned earlier, your gifts to your church home supports a wide variety of causes. Things like social justice, spiritual growth, a lush urban garden, musical life, beautiful historic structure, community engagement, nourishment for our children and families. I invite you to think about how you can store as much of your energy as you can in a way that is sustainable and right for you into our church home. This home that holds us in person and online. May we rejoice and give thanks for all the gifts you bring into Throop. May it be so.
What gift can we bring? What present, what token? What words can convey to the joy of this day? When grateful we come, remembering, rejoicing, what song can we offer in honor and praise? Give thanks for the past, for those who had vision, who planted and watered so dreams could come true. Give thanks for the now, for study, for worship, for mission that bids us turn prayer into deed. This gift we now bring, this present, this token, these words can convey it to the joy of this day. When grateful we come, remembering, rejoicing, this song we now offer in honor and praise.
Good morning, everyone. Throop is our spiritual and religious home, and you support our thriving community in so many ways through gifts of time, talents, and treasure. This year, your financial support has meant more than ever as we've navigated through uncertainty due to COVID. For those of you who are able to make a financial contribution, you can do so online, by text to give, or by sending a check to Throop. The giving links will be placed in the chat box. And remember, if you would like to make a financial pledge for the coming year, you can do so through the online form. That link will also be placed into the chat box. We'd like to thank all of our worship volunteers and staff from this morning. Stephanie Cabral, who read our chalice lighting. Pat Dennis, although offline, who shared her poem through Reverend Tera. Harlow Robinson for his moving testimonial on generosity. Stephen Torres, happy birthday to our chat box greeter. Matthew P. Taylor, who as always takes care of all of our tech. Chris Maldonado for lifting our spirits with music, and the Honorable Reverend Tera. Please say with me the words for our offering. For the ministries of the church in our community,
we bless our offering with love and hope.
Thank you, Terry Trindler, Treasurer. I have another really special announcement to share with you right now. As many of you are aware, Throop is a teaching congregation. We provide a learning site for ministerial students. And since 2015, we've been blessed by the skills and ministries of 4 interns: Everett Howe, Emily Van Cease, Samantha Wilson, and of course, Liz Murphy. Liz will complete her internship with us this May, and I know we are all going to miss her so much. And we will welcome a new intern minister in the fall. This year, we are partnering with the UUs of Santa Clarita Valley to offer a joint internship with them. It'll be a 1-year full-time internship, half of it at Throop and half of it in Santa Clarita Valley. Our incoming intern minister is Tera Klein. Ta-da! And here's a little about Greg. He is currently in seminary at Star King School for the Ministry and the Chaplaincy Institute in Berkeley, California. Greg is following his call to ministry after a 20-year career in employee benefits and counseling. He is fortunate to be married to Dr. Angela Jansen, his wife of 19 years, and their dog, Maggie May, a mostly boxer mix, rounds out their family. So there'll be lots of ways and months to come for you to welcome Greg into our Throop community life. We're really excited that he'll be with us. For those of you who lit a home chalice this morning, I invite you to extinguish it, but knowing that we carry its light with us into our days. Please continue to connect with Throop over the next week. We have small groups and other ways for you to continue your life and connection here. There'll be some of those links show up in the chat box. And friends, I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen and blessed be. We invite you to enjoy our postlude by Chris Maldonado and then stay a while for our coffee chat after the service. Happy Sunday.